Hello and welcome. On this edition we're back to doing some of the cabinet work. This whole series is going to be jumping back and forth between the cabinet and the turntable itself. As parts come in and I have things to work with, I'll be working on, whatever makes sense at the moment. And we're down to where we're going to be able to reproduce that wooden piece that is broken down here. And our laser came in fact I can show you that. I went with the X-Tool D1 Pro. That's a 10 watt laser. Now they have a laser head for 20 watts for an additional about $700, and they have a 40 watt version as well, but if I was doing production work or doing commercial work, I'd go with the higher power units, but I don't mind if it takes a little longer to do the cut. I bought it as a package. This is an additional part, this fume hood, as is the honeycomb backing plate. It comes with an aluminum sheet that goes underneath it so you don't burn your tabletop. It has these little magnets to hold your, if you're doing a thin like paper or cork piece, it'll hold them in position. They supply a set of laser glasses. Now the fume hood has a laser shield on it, but they advise that if you're going to be watching it run, wear the glasses anyway. This is okay for an occasional walk by, but you shouldn't stare through at the laser beam with that thin piece of Lexan that's tinted. The assembly of this thing went swimmingly. I'm very, very, very impressed with the build quality. Everything fit as it should. Couple of minor, very minor little things. When you're fitting the cables in here, you have to make sure that they are bundled as tightly and neatly as possible so that the Y-stage carriage clears everything and nothing hangs up and rubs. And the same thing goes for the cable on the back. Their next more expensive version has chainways for the cables, which is what all our commercial equipment had. But for the casual user, this is fine. One little item: when you're assembling this bridge, you're supposed to bring the unit all the way forward until the two end pieces contact the front down here, so that everything is registered correctly. The circuit board catches this side and doesn't let it come forward, so as an alternative you can simply run it all the way to the back position and stop against the two back edges. What I actually ended up doing was I had some precision spacers. I put one on each side, stood the thing up on end, and brought the carriage down there, because there's a shaft that runs across here driven by the motor. One side's a direct drive, the other side, the pulley over here, you have to set the coupling up so that the two sides are dialed in. But in general, I could have put this thing together without instructions, I think. Of course, I've got a lot of NC experience, but it went together very well. I bought the optional air assist that blows air around the lens, keeps the lens clean, blows the smoke away so the laser doesn't get attenuated. And I also bought the optional, this is a rotary tool for doing things like coffee cups. It'll rotate them as the laser burns in. Anything with a round structure you can do. It came with not only the laser glasses, but it came with a sample kit of products for you to test, which I thought was a kind of a nice touch. If I had any real gripe at all, it's the fact that the software doesn't have any guidance. Fortunately, I've been around NC and CNC equipment my whole life, or somebody who's real software literate can probably find their way through it, but they don't give you a lot of information. I spent about half an hour trying to figure out how to set this for an origin position. Now, commercial equipment, you turn it on, after the computer boots, you do either what's called a home all or a move to the origin, where it goes back, finds two limit switches, stops, offsets a little bit, goes back in, accurately positions itself, and then will come out to a resting position. This doesn't have any of that functionality. These are simple step motors, and I finally found in the software, figured out what they were talking about. When you have your workpiece in there, such as this, there's a little laser offset, a red laser offset from the main laser, and you straighten up your workpiece and you manually set the origin and then press the button in here, and then it knows this is the corner of your workpiece and will move within the limits of the item you've trained up in software. If you set it too far down here for an origin for your work length, it'll come up, it'll hit the limit switch, and it'll give you an alarm. But I've been, the hardest part of this so far has been finding my way through the functionality of the software, because again, there's no real information given with it. You kind of have to work your way through. I've got experience with Paint Shop Pro 10 and Microsoft Paint and Microsoft, I can't think of the name of the program now. I've been doing this for a lot of years, so it helps, that I've got a general background on how to do this. Now these are the first test pieces. This is just a piece of a cereal box that I used. I turned the laser down to about less than 10% power. And this was my first test. Just did an outline of the whole thing, and then I pulled this image out, moved it over, expanded it to the correct size, and I did an etch just to verify that what I had was going to match. Then I realized that while this had fairly smooth edges on it, when I blew it up, things got a little bit wonky. Of course, it was moving much faster here. It wasn't doing nearly as much burn. But even when I was doing this in Paint Shop Pro, I noticed a lot of pixelization as I was trying to fix this. What I did is I took a photograph, converted it to grayscale, tried to set a threshold so that we had pure black and pure white. Ideally, you would have 0 and 256 for your two grayscale levels. When I took a picture of the wood initially and tried to convert it to a grayscale, I had all kinds of dark areas. It would have taken me a month of Sundays to edit them out. So I sanded what was left of the finish off of the wood and took another picture and tried again, and that was a whole lot better, but I still had a lot of areas when I tried to set the threshold for black and white where the white would start to turn black or the black would start to turn white. So what I did is I went ahead and painted this white. That's the good one. Now I can sand off the white paint when I'm done, or the fact that I will have a laser program for the far side, I can just make two of these and take this one off entirely and replace it. My next mistake, and I'm passing this information along just so that you don't make the same stupid mistakes I made. About a week ago, I had to upload a thumbnail to YouTube. One of my videos, for whatever reason, when I uploaded it to YouTube, didn't have a thumbnail image after it was processed. I've never seen that happen before. So I took a picture to upload as the thumbnail, and of course YouTube wouldn't let me upload it because the file size was too big. And I kept downsizing on the picture resolution until they were happy with the thumbnail photo I sent them or uploaded. Well, I never changed the camera back from the low resolution still photo to the high resolution. So when I shot this, and I was working with it in Paint Shop Pro to clean up, because you can go in Paint Shop Pro and go pixel by pixel and fix any problems with the image. I remember thinking it was kind of coarse. And of course, once I blew it up again and did this burn, and again, I'm a neophyte at this laser stuff, so I'm just learning. The corners here are kind of squared off, and it started getting pretty rough looking, where this one, where it was shrunk, was a lot smoother. But as soon as I started to expand it, the missing pixels, you start having problems with it. So I'm reshooting this at very high resolution. I'm going to take another picture, and now that I know the process to set it in Paint Shop Pro, and I guess you can do that in the software that comes with this, but I know Paint Shop a lot better. So I'll take this to Paint Shop Pro in a high resolution photograph, convert it to a black and white grayscale photo, and then I'll go in, and if there's any bad places or any wood that's been chipped away, with the high resolution photo I should be able to easily add those pixels in, because in Paint Shop Pro you can add pixel by pixel to your black and white image. It's a little time consuming, but you can manipulate it any way you want. Then I take that, save it as a bitmap, and import it into the software for this. Then you can draw a box around it, lift the center section out, reposition that on your screen, eliminate the background, and you're left with the outline of this, and you just tell it to do a burn, set your laser level, and it'll cut everything out. I've got wood on order to do the actual real burn, and you know, we'll show you how that comes out when it gets here. That should be here tomorrow. For you, it'll be just a matter of seconds. What else? Oh, it comes with an exhaust fan and this black flex hose that you can run out to like something like a dryer vent, or just stick it out the window to vent the smoke and the fumes. But fortunately, I have a radon mitigation system that I installed years ago, and it's basically a vacuum. It's a fan that creates a vacuum under the slab, and I have it plumbed to 2 diagonal corners of the house to pull the radon out of the house. Those of you who live anywhere in New England know what I'm talking about. The rest of the world's probably going, what the hell is he talking about? New Hampshire's called the Granite State, and granite is radioactive. It has uranium in it, decaying into radon gas, and it's supposedly the 2nd leading cause of lung cancer in this state. When I moved into the house, I had 20 to 26 picocuries per liter of radon gas down here, which is far exceeding any safety levels. Of course, you know, nobody knew anything about this 40 years ago. I installed the radon mitigation system, which is basically you put a couple of pipes through the slab and run a fan that creates a vacuum and exhausts up over above roof level. And I have a vacuum gauge in the center of the slab, so just for, you know, I have a hole over here with a pipe going in, and a hole in the slab over here, kitty corner in my subfloor, or my basement floor here. And then I put a vacuum gauge in the very center of the floor, and I can actually see like 0.15 inches of vacuum in the center of the slab, which is plenty. And since I put that in, I average about 0.85 picocuries per liter on a monthly basis. It's under 1 picocurie, and they say anything below 3 or 4 is considered decent in New England. So it worked out well. I simply tapped into that. I added another pipe and a ball valve, so I can draw the fumes out of this, and they're exhausted up above the house. But those of you who don't have a radon mitigation system, of course, you can just stick that out the window if you buy one of these hoods. It comes with a little fan. It's got its own fan, its own little power supply. There's a fan right here that blows into the pipe. That's the air pump down there for the air assist. There's some tools and accessories there. It's a fairly nice unit. I'm pleased with it so far. Of course, this is my first venture into this. There are more powerful systems out there, but I had gone online and looked, and everybody seemed to be pleased with theirs when they bought it. This fume hood, if you wish to move the unit, the fume hood is simply held together with Velcro. So you stick the thing together, set it up, close this and start your process, and it takes all the smoke, all the fumes, and you can occasionally come back and check on the progress because you've got the window there on the top. So that's where it's at the moment. I am going to take another photograph, another high resolution photograph, and it'll probably take me a couple of hours to fix, you know, all the edges and pixels and add any of the missing pieces in. If I drop the camera down here, I'm trying to do this in one shot. I don't know if I'll be able to do that. Let me shut the camera off so I can bring the tripod down. Okay, rather than make you seasick as I move this thing around, looks like I've got to move it back a little bit. The window gets a little smaller on it. There we go. There's some places in here you can see there's differences in the shape. This has been chipped, or maybe it was always like that. When this was the same color as the background wood, it probably wasn't at all noticeable. This has a little bit of a misshapen edge on it. There's a couple of places on here with some blemishes and so on and so forth. Years and years of use probably. But I can take this image, convert it to a black and white grayscale photograph, set a threshold so I have pure black, pure white, and then any errant pixels or any edges that aren't perfect, I can go in and edit that in Paint Shop Pro. Like this edge here dips into the side a little bit. I'll make that perfectly straight in Paint Shop Pro. I'll just add in those pixels as being white, make the background black, then I'll be able to pull the image out, move it over in software, and have this be my laser etch. It turned out to be fairly easy to do. And again, I've got a background in some of this, you know, not professionally, but I used to make presentations for the customers and so on and so forth, so I have some background with some of these programs. And again, I see you know, it comes down straight to here and then it steps in a little bit. There's either a dent, or maybe that's just where the wood chipped away at some point in time. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take a good high resolution photograph now that we've been through the process once or twice or 3 times, and we're starting to get familiar with how to manipulate the software that came with the unit. There's additional software that's been recommended to me called Lightburn. In fact, the company that sells the unit recommends Lightburn. But the software that comes with the unit as is, while somewhat crude, seems like it's going to do the job. If I had had the laser turned up, I would have been able to burn this out of that piece of cardboard, but I turned the power way down just so that I could get a good feel for the outline of the part, what it was going to look like. I could make my measurements, make sure my scaling was good, and I did that outline burn. They call it a score burn. It'd be for scoring something halfway through and then breaking it out, but I just turned the laser power way down so it wouldn't even burn that deep. I just wanted an outline. Once I knew I had that nailed, then I started investigating different things, and I can see, just sitting here looking, I can see some distortion here. But we'll fix all of that, we'll get it burned, and we'll show you the result. Alright, I've just finished a burn for real. This is still the cardboard. My wood will be in supposedly tomorrow, like I said. But that solves my problem. That's going to go right on there. Nobody will ever know they're not the original. Beautiful cut, nice and clean. Of course, you get soot on the edge. It is a burning process after all, but just the accuracy of this thing, and it's fast. I crank the laser power up to about 75%, and it just zips around this thing and cuts it right out. I was thrilled to death. And if it doesn't make it on the first cut, it's got the option, you just click retrace and it'll do the whole thing over again. I'm real pleased that I got the fume hood, because when you open the cover after a burn, it's pretty smelly in there. But while it's running, there's absolutely no smell whatsoever, so it's all going outside via the exhaust. terrific. Happy as can be. Can't wait for the wood to get here. Okay, my basswood came in, unless of course you're cutting fish profiles, and then you'd have to call it basswood, I guess. Got my glasses ready to go here, and we'll leave this open briefly. Now I'm using a canned routine for thin plywood. I don't know if it's going to do this in one pass or I'll have to do it twice. We'll find out here. I'll bring you along for the start at least. I've clicked on start. It says the system is ready. Now I'm not going to leave this open for the entire burn because I don't want the house filling up with smoke, but let's see what happens. And I don't know for sure that the settings are adequate to do a single cut or a single burn to cut through, but worst case I will, oh, a lot of smoke coming out of there. Worst case I'll just do a second pass. Oh, look at that, it's gone through. It's cut through that. I can see reflection from the bottom. So I can probably turn the laser power down. Yep. That's definitely cut through. Alright, I'm going to turn the camera off rather than just sit here and let this, you know, have you watch this for 20 minutes, but you can see it's doing its thing. And when we get finished, I'll show you the end product. Okay, please excuse all the fan noise. There's a fan on the laser, there's a fan on the exhaust, so it's going to be fairly noisy here. One pass would be more than adequate. The canned routine was for 3mm basswood. This is 1.5mm. So all it's needed is one pass at this power level. I could see it clearly making a clean cut. However, the problem I have here is, see the bow and the material? I don't know if that's going to show up on camera or not. That was flat when I put it in there, and as it started cutting, it started bowing. And the shield around the laser head is very close to the surface. You have a gauge here that you set down on your workpiece, drop the laser head down so it's in focus. And it made it all the way down to here, but when it started moving up, you see the little step right there, it caught this edge with the shield and moved it. And as it was going cutting, it was progressively turning the piece, moving it away. So I had to stop it. It would have ruined the piece anyway. But this is all part of the learning curve. Holding the workpiece down, of course, is the answer, but to preserve material, I was trying to start over here. When your laser spot's here, the shield is over here, so I can't use those magnets. I'll have to burn in the center, make my two pieces out of the center of this, and that ends up wasting a lot of material. But I think I'm going to restart this. I'm going to use the same power and speed parameters that it has for this. However, I'm going to make it a single pass, and I'll burn in the center and I'll hold the edges down, and that should solve that problem. So those are the things you run into. This is a learning curve. I'm a virgin. Alright, I've changed the cutting parameters to a single pass. I am going to maintain the 4mm per second and 100% laser power, because I saw that was doing a very good job on the first pass, cutting right through it. But it'll go a lot faster because now it'll only do a single pass instead of two. I don't know what to do about holding the corners down. You have to register it to the corner of the piece, and then it does a move around and goes back to that side. So if I try to put anything on there to hold that corner down, it's going to collide with it. What would be ideal would be a vacuum table. Some of our systems had a vacuum table, vacuum platen, and you put extra material around there and it securely held your part down. course, this is a home gamer unit. We didn't have laser cutters, we had other types of machine work, but they used a vacuum table to hold things in place. It seems to have flattened back out. I don't know if it's because I was burning so close to the edge. I'm going to take a chance. This wasn't a large expense to buy this wood. I'm assuming I've moved everything over in the CAD system, or the software, to the center, and I'm assuming it's going to burn out there, but there's no real information in the software about the size of your workpiece. Usually it would ask for the size of your workpiece and scale everything to that, but this doesn't have any dimensions, it just has a grid pattern. Keep our fingers crossed. I'm going to get my glasses on here and we'll start this again and see how it goes. Again, we're learning together. Am I recording? Yes, we're recording. And the battery looks solid. Start, press the button. No, it's starting from the edge again, even though I moved them over in the grid. We'll just have to keep our fingers crossed. But I can see it's burning all the way through on the first pass. And the smoke's beginning to pour out. So I'm going to close the hood. You're just going to see a reflection, I think. And we'll keep our fingers crossed, see what happens. The wood's not that expensive. I am going to try taping this down. Now it doesn't tape real well because it's a honeycomb surface here, but it appears to be holding it down far enough that hopefully it will clear the shield here on the laser. And even if the tape gets under the laser, it'll just cut right through it. But I just think it'll clear. We'll keep our fingers crossed. Tell it to continue. And off it runs. And don't forget to put your glasses on. Blindness is for life if this laser gets into your eyes. First and foremost, think about your eyesight. I think I could boot this up to 5 or 6 millimeters a second and still get a good cut. It's cutting right through here on that 4 millimeter speed. Absolutely perfectly. And again, this is all a learning curve. I'll take notes, and next time I'll know. Boot the speed up on the motors a little bit and let it have at it. But it is curling. This went in flat. After I had talked a little bit, the part flattened out. I put it back in there flat, and as soon as it started burning, it started curling up. So be aware of that. Okay, the tape has held and the parent material has stayed down, but the actual workpiece, now that it's been liberated, is curling up in the air and is going to catch on the laser when it goes up and tries to make the next piece. I'm going to see if I can slip this out of here. I don't know if I can. No, I can't. It's like a puzzle piece. It's locked in here and it won't come up high enough to come out. Perhaps if I let it go a little bit further and pause it again. Oh, it's starting way over there. Okay, I'm going to pause it. We'll lift this out of here. And there's our first piece. There's our replacement for the missing part. Perfectly happy with that. We're going to let it make a second one, and I might just replace both of them. These won't be in the way. I'll let it go ahead and run. Continue, press the go button, and it's off and running. We're coming up on the end of the cut. One little detail at the bottom to finish, and it'll be done. I'll have my two pieces. I certainly am happy. I don't know if you can see the smoke rolling off of that. I certainly am pleased the fact that I went ahead and bought the, you can see the smoke blowing out. That's because there's a nozzle on the laser lens with air blowing in. Without this smoke hood, this would not be livable unless you opened all the windows and ran a fan. So let's reach in here, pull that out. And there it is. Just beautiful. I am just so happy with that. Let me turn the camera around here. And again, I apologize for all the fan noise, but that's part of the process on the laser itself. But I removed this one. All I did is take a furniture scraper and go up underneath it, and the glue let go. Whoops. Kick the camera away, don't you? And we'll glue these on. After I'll sand the back of this first, of course, clean everything up, get it ready for the new finish, and then we'll glue these on and move on with the finishing. But back to its former glory. Another thing I have in mind for this, since I have to recreate the drawer, there's a drawer in here for the phonograph to slide out and in. I don't have that. I don't have the phonograph. I think I am going to, what did I do with the catalog? Oh, it's over here. I've grabbed myself a test piece here. I think I'll finish one side and leave one side bare. I just got to turn the viewfinder around so I can make sure I'm in frame. There we go. And I think I'm going to make a copy of the Midwest badge, the 4/1949, and where is it? And the Symphony Grand. I'll take, I'll scan this and pull out this font, and I think I'll put Symphony Grand for 1949 here, Symphony Grand for 1949, and the Midwest badge here on the front edge of the drawer. Now, it didn't have that originally, but it's not the original phonograph, so who cares? My radio, I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to see how it looks. We're going to do an engraving on here. We'll try the unfinished side and the finished side and see how it comes out, and I just might use that for the front. We're going to make that it for now. We got to be up, oh, kick the camera again. We got to be up over the half-hour point. And I've got things to do this afternoon. I got to get the driveway sealed up so that I can go back to Thailand and not worry about the freeze-thaw cycles. But I hope you found some of this interesting or educational or helpful. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm feeling my way through it. But so far, so good, I think. That's it for now. Thanks for stopping by. Unlike the fellow who's never coming back because he saw me scratch the top of the cabinet. He was so disgusted. And I felt so bad I thought about throwing myself off the roof, but I said, nah, I think I'll just have another beer. That's it. Take care. See you soon. Bye. But wait, there's more. I am going to take you back here. You see where I moved the two pieces to the center of this virtual workspace? Originally, I had them over here, and when it started burning, it started, catching on the edge of my workpiece, and you tell it where this edge is. So I've moved this over here, and you can see the position, the starting positions change. But for whatever reason, when I restarted my second attempt, it still started over here in the corner. So obviously I don't know how this software works yet. But it did allow me just to do a right-click copy and right-click paste to duplicate, so I could get 2 on the piece. Software leaves a lot to be desired, but it's doing what I need it to do for now. When I get back, I'll probably look into the light burn, but I'm not going to throw the money at that right at this point in time. Here's the size of your part, 2 inches by 11.5. It's 2 inches wide by 11.5 length. And again, every time I move this, you can see the position on the grid change, so I assumed that moving them over would start the burn over here in the center somewhere. I haven't found any place yet where I can define the workspace. I would have liked to have been able to tell this that it was, 12 inches by 12 inches, so that it would fit more realistically into the piece, because I just carefully put it up here at the top and left what I looked about 1/8 of an inch from the edge, because on a 12-inch piece, 11.5, I'm going to leave a 1/4 inch on each end. But again, I'm finding my way through the software, even finding the laser settings. This says manual setting. What does this say? Reference, X tool, I don't know what that's all about. There's not a lot of information. If I click on layer, it brings up manual setting. There's my power level. There's my speed in millimeters. And again, this is 4. I think I could go 5 or 6 millimeters. And you can tell it how many passes. If you have a thicker workpiece, you can tell it 2 or 3 passes to burn through a thicker workpiece. I don't think it's doing a bad job for a 10-watt laser head. Perfectly adequate for the amount that I'm going to use it. Was it expensive? Yeah. Yes and no. For what it's done, it has saved me a ton of work, and I think it's worth every penny I paid for it. I bought this off of Amazon. It's the X-Tool D1 Pro with the accessory kit, and you can go look it up yourself. Okay, this is it for real this time. See ya. Bye.